The alarm sound filled the bridge of the Coalition patrol ship's steady light. Captain Genthar's 4 eyes focused on the main screen. His scales turned from blue to worried purple. "Unknown contact," the sensor officer reported. Her voice was steady, but her tentacles moved with nervousness. "The signature doesn't match anything in our database." Genthar stood from his command chair. The Galactic Coalition had maintained peace for 200 years. In all that time, they had catalogued every known species and their ships. An unknown contact was more than unusual. It was impossible. "Distance?" he asked. 40,000 kilometers and holding position. "They're not moving toward us or away." The captain studied the readings. The ship was large, military grade from the power signature. But the design patterns were strange. Old somehow, yet the technology seemed advanced. "Hail them." Standard first contact protocols. The communications officer worked her console. Minutes passed. Then a response came through. But it wasn't a greeting. It was a single transmission in audio format. "Stay back. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member recognized something in that message. The language was ancient. The accent was sharp and direct. But the real shock was the database match that appeared on screen. "Sir," the communications officer whispered, "that language is... It's English. Old Earth English." Genthar felt his blood chill. "That's impossible. Humans are extinct." Everyone in the Coalition knew the story. Earth had been a promising world with a young species. They had just started reaching for the stars when catastrophe struck. Something destroyed their moon. The debris field wiped out most of Earth's orbital structures. Earthquakes and tsunamis devastated the planet. When Coalition ships arrived 50 years later to offer aid, Earth was silent. The colonies were abandoned. Humanity had vanished. That was 150 years ago. "Play the message again," Genthar ordered. The voice came through once more. "Stay back. This is your only warning." It was definitely human. The Coalition database still had archived recordings from the brief period of human contact. The voice patterns matched. "Send an immediate transmission to Coalition Command," Genthar said. "Tell them we may have found survivors." 3 days later, Ambassador Krelvax arrived on a diplomatic vessel. He was a Mothari, a species known for their scholarly nature and love of history. His wings were decorated with patterns that showed his rank and achievements. When he entered the bridge of the steady light, his compound eyes immediately fixed on the mysterious ship displayed on the view screen. "Magnificent," he breathed. "After all this time, you believe they're actually human?" Genthar asked. Krelvax moved closer to the screen. His antennae twitched with excitement. "Look at the design philosophy. Humans always built their ships with redundancy, multiple engines, backup systems, armor over shields. They didn't trust energy barriers alone. This ship has all those characteristics. But why hide for 150 years? The captain wondered. Why not contact the Coalition? The ambassador's wings drooped slightly. Perhaps they blame us. The Coalition was supposed to be the great protector of developing species. Yet we failed them. When they needed help most, we weren't there in time. Genthar said nothing. The guilt was shared across the Coalition. Humanity's extinction had been a dark mark on their record. We should try again to make contact, Krelvax suggested, but with more information this time. Let them know we want to help. The communications officer prepared a new message. This time it contained historical records, offers of assistance, and questions about human survivors. They transmitted it toward the unknown ship. The response came faster this time. We are human. We are armed. We are watching. Send a small delegation if you want to talk. Any aggressive action will be met with force. Krelvax's antennae shot upright. They survived. By the stars, they actually survived. They also threatened us, Genthar pointed out. His scales had turned orange with concern. That ship is clearly military. We have no idea what weapons they possess. Then we go carefully, the ambassador said. But we must go. This is humanity we're talking about. They were on the edge of joining the greater galactic community. If they survived, we owe them answers. We owe them help. The captain considered this. His military training told him to be cautious. Unknown ships with unknown weapons were dangerous. But his conscience told him something else. If humans had survived all this time alone, frightened, preparing for threats that might never come, they deserved better than suspicion. Very well, Genthar decided. We'll take a small shuttle. You, me, and a minimal crew. No weapons. We'll show them we come in peace. Krelvax nodded gratefully. Thank you, Captain. As they prepared the shuttle, Genthar couldn't shake a feeling in his gut. Something about this situation felt bigger than a simple first contact. The human ship sat there in space, silent and waiting. It had been watching them for days, maybe longer. What had humanity become in 150 years of isolation? What had they learned? What had they built? And most importantly, why had they chosen now to reveal themselves? The shuttle launched toward the mysterious vessel. Behind them, the steady light held position, ready to run or fight if needed. Ahead, the human warship's running lights flickered once in acknowledgement. Whatever answers waited for them on that ship, Genthar knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was about to change. The shuttle approached the human warship slowly. Krelvax pressed his face close to the viewport, studying every detail. The ship was enormous up close. Scarred metal told stories of battles or accidents. Repair patches covered sections of the hull. This wasn't a new vessel. It had history written across its surface. They're opening a docking bay, the pilot announced. Captain Genthar watched the massive doors slide apart. Inside, they could see a pressurized hangar. Lights guided them in. The shuttle settled onto the deck with a gentle bump. Through the windows, they saw figures in uniforms waiting. Human figures. Atmosphere is compatible, the pilot confirmed. Gravity is slightly higher than Coalition standard. Pressure is good. Genthar stood and adjusted his uniform. Let's meet our hosts. The shuttle door opened with a hiss. The air that entered smelled recycled with hints of oil and metal. It was the smell of a working ship. The delegation stepped out onto the deck. A woman approached them. She was tall by human standards, with dark hair tied back and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her uniform was gray and black, military in cut. On her chest was a patch showing Earth surrounded by stars. But the Earth in the image had no moon. I am Commander Sarah Chen, she said in clear Coalition standard. Her accent was unusual but understandable. Welcome aboard the Defiant Remembrance. Krelvax stepped forward, his wings spreading slightly in a gesture of respect.
I am Ambassador Krelvax of the Mothari people.
This is Captain Genthar of the Coalition fleet. We are honored to meet you, Commander. We thought humanity was lost. Chen's expression didn't change. We thought the Coalition had abandoned us. Seems we were both wrong about some things. She turned and gestured for them to follow. Come. We have much to discuss. They walked through corridors that were purely functional. No decorations, no artwork. Every surface was metal or composite material. Crew members they passed stopped and stared at the aliens. Some looked curious. Others looked hostile. Your people don't seem happy to see us, Genthar observed carefully. Can you blame them? Chen asked. Our history books say the Coalition promised to protect developing worlds. When Earth died, where were you? The word stung, but Genthar couldn't argue. It was the truth. They entered a large room that served as a meeting space. Maps covered the walls. Star charts marked with human notation. Territory boundaries that didn't match Coalition records. Chen gestured to seats around a table. Before we talk about the past, you need to understand the present, she began. The Defiant Remembrance is a generational warship. We've been traveling for 147 years. This ship is home to 6,000 people. Most were born here. Many will die here. Krelvax's antennae drooped. 6,000 survivors on one ship? Chen smiled for the first time, but it wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone holding a secret. Oh no, Ambassador. Not just one ship. This vessel is part of the Exodus fleet. We have 173 ships. Total population is just over 2 million humans. The shock was visible on both visitors' faces. Genthar leaned forward. 2 million? How did you evacuate so many? We didn't evacuate, Chen explained. We escaped. When Earth's moon shattered, we knew the planet was dying. Every colony, every orbital station, every ship we had was mobilized. We grabbed whoever we could, whatever resources we could carry, and we ran. We've been running ever since. She activated a display on the table. It showed the human fleet scattered across a vast region of space. We learned to hide, to move quietly, to avoid detection. We watched the Coalition from a distance. We monitored your communications, your movements. We learned your languages, your politics, your strengths and weaknesses. You've been spying on us, Genthar said flatly. We've been surviving, Chen corrected. We didn't know if whoever destroyed Earth would come back. We didn't know if the Coalition could be trusted, so we prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. Krelvac spoke softly. Commander Chen, the Coalition didn't destroy Earth. We would never— I know, Chen interrupted. We've reviewed the evidence we could gather. Your people weren't responsible, but someone was. Something caused our moon to explode. That kind of destruction doesn't happen naturally. It was a weapon. She pulled up more data. We've spent 150 years searching for answers. We've developed technology the Coalition doesn't have. We've adapted, evolved, and militarized our entire civilization. Every human knows basic combat. Every ship has weapons. We turned ourselves into a fleet that could defend against whatever killed our world. Genthar studied the data. The human ships had capabilities that worried him. Weapon systems that were creative and deadly. Defensive measures that were clever. Humans had spent generations preparing for war. Why reveal yourselves now? He asked. Why after all this time? Chen's face grew serious. Because we found them. The ones who killed Earth. We've been tracking them for 30 years. They're called the Korth Dominion. They come from beyond Coalition space, and they're heading into your territory. She changed the display. It showed a massive fleet moving slowly but steadily toward Coalition borders. The weapon that destroyed Earth's moon was a test. They were experimenting with their technology. They didn't even know there was a populated planet in that system. To them, we were just collateral damage. Krelvac felt sick. How many ships do they have? More than the Coalition can handle alone, Chen said bluntly. We've observed their tactics. They're aggressive and coordinated. They don't negotiate. They conquer or destroy. She looked at both of them directly. We came to warn you. The Korth will reach Coalition space within weeks, maybe days. They'll demand surrender. When you refuse, they'll attack. Genthar stood. I need to contact Coalition Command immediately. Go ahead, Chen said. But Captain, there's something else you should know. We didn't just come to warn you. We came to fight. The Korth took our world. They took our moon, our sky, our home. We've been waiting 150 years for revenge. Her eyes were hard as diamonds. And we're going to take it. The alarm came 3 hours later while Captain Genthar was still transmitting urgent messages to Coalition Command. The sound echoed through both the steady light and the defiant remembrance. Multiple contacts incoming, the sensor officer reported. Her voice was tight with fear. Reading over 200 vessels. Configuration matches Commander Chen's data on the Korth Dominion. On the bridge of the human warship, Chen moved with practiced calm. Her crew responded instantly to orders, each person moving to their station without hesitation. Genthar and Krelvac had been given a corner to observe from. Battle stations, Chen commanded. Signal the fleet. Protocol Valkyrie. It's time. What's happening? Krelvac asked, his wings trembling. The Korth are here earlier than we expected, Chen replied. She pulled up displays showing the incoming fleet. The ships were massive and angular, covered in weapon emplacements. They must have detected our signal to you. They're accelerating their invasion. A communication came through. The image showed a Korth commander. The alien was reptilian with thick armor plates and too many teeth. Its eyes glowed with hostile intelligence. Unknown vessels, the Korth growled. You are in territory claimed by the Dominion. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to comply. Chen stood straight. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Exodus Fleet. We don't recognize your claim to this territory. Leave now or face the consequences. The Korth commander seemed amused. Then its expression changed. Recognition and something else appeared in its eyes. Fear? Human? It hissed. The database said you were extinct. The Moonbreaker weapon eliminated your species. You killed our world, Chen said coldly. Did you really think we'd just die quietly? The Korth's amusement vanished. You survived. This complicates matters. The Dominion has standing orders regarding your kind. All human vessels are to be destroyed on sight. You are classified as extreme threats. The transmission cut off. The Korth fleet began moving into attack formation. Genthar's scales turned pale. Commander, my ship only has a dozen Coalition vessels in range. We're outnumbered 20 to 1. We need to retreat and gather reinforcements. Run if you want, Chen said. But the Korth will follow. They'll chase you right back to your core worlds. Better to make a stand here. She touched her communication panel. All ships, this is Chen. The enemy is in range. Execute Valkyrie now. Nothing happened for 3 seconds. Then space seemed to tear open. All around the system, human ships decloaked. They had been hiding, using technology that masked their signatures completely. 50 ships appeared, then 100, then more. The Korth fleet suddenly found itself surrounded. 173 human warships reporting ready, an officer announced. Fleet power at full. Weapons hot. Awaiting your command, Commander. Krelvac stared at the tactical display in wonder and horror. You positioned your entire fleet here. You were waiting for them. We've been hunting the Korth for decades, Chen explained. When they entered this system, we knew they'd picked it as a staging ground for their invasion. So we got here first. She looked at Genthar. Captain, will your ships fight with us? Genthar made a decision that would change galactic history. Coalition vessels, this is Captain Genthar. The Korth Dominion has invaded Coalition space with hostile intent. All ships are authorized to engage. Fight alongside our human allies. The Korth commander broadcast again. Humans, your trick is impressive but meaningless. We outnumber you. Our ships are larger. Our weapons are superior. This changes nothing, Chen smiled. It was not a nice smile. You killed 6 billion of us. You took our home, our sky, our future, and you think a numbers advantage matters? She leaned toward the screen. You're about to learn why the Dominion classified us as extreme threats. She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. Target their command ships first. Show them what human engineering can do. Fire when ready. The battle began. Human ships moved unlike anything Genthar had ever seen. They were fast and aggressive, diving into the Korth formation rather than holding back. Their weapons were brutal and practical. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missile swarms confused enemy sensors. Some human ships rammed Korth vessels, their reinforced hulls designed to survive the impact. They fight like they have nothing to lose. Krelvax whispered. We don't. Chen said simply. We already lost everything. Now we're just making sure those who took it from us pay the price. The Korth fought back hard. Their energy weapons carved through space. Human ships took damage. Some exploded, but for every human vessel destroyed, the survivors fought harder. There was no retreat in human tactics, only forward momentum. They're targeting the Coalition ships, an officer reported. The Korth are trying to eliminate your vessels first. Genthar watched as 3 Korth cruisers focused fire on a Coalition frigate. The shields wouldn't hold. Then 2 human destroyers cut between them, taking the hits meant for the frigate. One human ship's hull breached, venting atmosphere, but it kept firing until its reactor failed. They're protecting us, Genthar said in disbelief. They barely know us and they're dying to protect us, Chen nodded. That's what you do for allies. That's what the Coalition should have done for Earth. The words hurt, but Genthar couldn't argue. He watched humans demonstrate what loyalty looked like, what sacrifice meant. These people had every reason to hate the Coalition, yet they fought beside them anyway. The battle raged for hours. The Korth were powerful, but humans were relentless. Every tactic the Korth tried, humans countered. When Korth ships tried to break away, human vessels pursued. When they tried to regroup, human attack patterns prevented it. Commander, an urgent call came through. The Korth flagship is charging their primary weapon. Energy signature matches the Moonbreaker from historical records. Chen's face went hard. Target solution? They're aiming at the Coalition command ship. Everyone on the bridge looked at the tactical display. The massive Korth flagship was building power. In minutes, it would fire the weapon that had destroyed Earth's moon. And it was pointed directly at Genthar's vessel. Chen made her decision instantly. Helm, full speed to intercept. Put us between the Korth flagship and the steady light. All power to forward shields. Commander, we can't take that hit, her executive officer protested. That weapon will destroy us. Then we make sure it doesn't get a second shot, Chen replied. Weapons, prepare the lance, all power to the main gun. We're going to return the favor. The defiant remembrance accelerated hard. Genthar felt the gravity shift even through the inertial dampeners. The human warship positioned itself directly between the Korth flagship and the Coalition vessels. Chen, what are you doing? Genthar demanded. Move your ship. That weapon will tear through you. Probably, Chen agreed calmly. She watched her tactical display with the focus of someone who had already accepted their fate. But it won't get through us fast enough to hit you. And it definitely won't get a second shot. The Korth flagship's weapon finished charging. Energy crackled along its hull. The same weapon that had destroyed Earth's moon was ready to fire. All crew brace for impact, Chen announced across her ship. It's been an honor serving with you. Remember Earth. Remember Earth. Her crew responded in unison. No fear in their voices. Only determination. The Korth fired. A beam of terrible energy lanced across space. It hit the defiant Remembrance dead center. The forward shields held for exactly 2 seconds before shattering. The beam carved into the hull. Armor plating vaporized. Internal compartments were exposed to space. Alarms screamed. The ship shuddered under the assault. Sections of the hull began to buckle. But the vessel held together. The beam didn't punch through. Human engineering, designed with paranoid redundancy, absorbed the impossible damage. Forward sections lost. An officer reported through gritted teeth. Hull integrity at 30%. Life support failing in zones 1 through 4. Casualties heavy. Weapon status? Chen asked. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead, but her voice was steady. The lance is charged and ready, Commander. Chen smiled through the pain. Then let's show them what we learned from their own weapon. She opened a channel to the Korth flagship. You killed our world with that weapon. We studied the debris for years. We learned how it works, and we made our own version. Goodbye. The defiant Remembrance fired. The lance was humanity's answer to the Moonbreaker. 150 years of rage and engineering compressed into a single weapon system. It had never been tested in battle. Human scientists hadn't been completely sure it would work. It worked. The beam that erupted from the damaged human warship was blue-white and terrible. It crossed the distance to the Korth flagship in an instant. Unlike the Moonbreaker, which destroyed through overwhelming force, the lance was surgical. It punched through the Korth ship's shields as if they weren't there. It carved through armor, through bulkheads, through the reactor core. The Korth flagship didn't explode. It simply stopped existing. The weapon tore it apart at a molecular level. One moment there was a massive warship. The next moment there was an expanding cloud of particles. The battle paused. Every ship, human and Korth and Coalition alike, stopped firing. Everyone stared at where the Korth flagship had been. Confirmed kill, the weapons officer reported quietly. Korth command vessel destroyed. The lance performed as designed. Chen sagged in her chair. Then it was worth it. Helm, can we still maneuver? Barely, Commander. We're dead in space. Main engines are gone. We're venting atmosphere from 17 breaches. Seal what you can. Get the wounded to medical. Chen looked at Genthar and Krelvax. Captain, I'd recommend you take command of the battle now. We've cut off the head. Time to finish the body. Genthar nodded and rushed to the communication panel. All Coalition vessels, this is Captain Genthar. The enemy command ship is destroyed. Press the attack. Human fleet, coordinate with Coalition forces. Let's end this. The battle resumed, but everything had changed. The Korth fleet fell into chaos without their flagship. Orders contradicted each other. Ships broke formation. The careful coordination they'd shown before was gone. Human ships sensed the weakness and attacked like wolves. They were damaged and outnumbered, but they had momentum. And they had something else, absolute commitment. Every human in that fleet had been raised on stories of Earth's destruction. This wasn't just a battle. It was payback 150 years in the making. Human vessel Remembrance of Tokyo is down, a report came in. They took 3 Korth cruisers with them. New Beijing reports critical damage. They're ramming the Korth carrier. Mumbai's Pride is breaking up, but their crew evacuated to Cape Town. The reports kept coming. Human ships fell, but they never fell alone. Every loss cost the Korth heavily. The exchange rate was brutal. The Korth had numbers, but humans had fury. Krelvax watched in awe and horror. They're not fighting a battle. They're fighting a war they've been planning for generations. Every human alive knows what they lost, Chen said softly. We teach our children about Earth, about the blue sky and the silver moon, about cities and oceans, things they'll never see because the Korth took it all away. She gestured to the battle. This is what happens when you kill someone's entire world. You don't create survivors. You create weapons. Coalition ships fought alongside humans now with new understanding. They had wondered why humans seemed so aggressive, so fearless. Now they understood. These people had nothing left to lose. They'd already lost everything. All that remained was making sure it meant something. Korth fleet is breaking apart, Tactical reported. Multiple vessels attempting to flee. Don't let them escape, Zenthar ordered. Human ships, can you pursue? A dozen responses came back immediately. Human vessels peeled off to chase the fleeing Korth. They were faster, more maneuverable. The Korth had nowhere to run. 2 hours later it was over. The Korth fleet was destroyed. 97 Korth vessels eliminated. Only a handful had escaped into deep space too far to pursue. The victory was total, but the cost was devastating. The coalition had lost 4 ships. The human fleet had lost 43. Chen sat in her damaged command chair watching the casualty reports come in. 43 ships, 43 generational vessels. Each one was home to hundreds, sometimes thousands. Their entire lives were on those ships. They gave their lives protecting the coalition, Krelvac said gently. They will be remembered as heroes. They were already heroes, Chen replied. They were the children of Earth. They survived the unsurvivable. And they gave everything to make sure no one else would suffer what we suffered. She looked at the ambassador with tears in her eyes. Do you understand now? This is who humans are. When someone threatens innocence, we don't hide. We don't run, we fight. Even if it kills us, Genthar approached her. His scales had turned deep purple with sorrow and respect. Commander Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I formally request that humanity rejoin galactic civilization. Not as refugees, not as survivors, but as equals, as protectors, as allies. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. We'll need to discuss terms. But yes, Ambassador, it's time humans came home. 3 months had passed since the battle. The damaged, defiant Remembrance floated in a coalition repair dock, surrounded by work vessels and engineering teams. Both human and alien crews worked together to rebuild the wounded warship. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Coalition Central Station, watching the repairs. Beside her, Ambassador Krelvac reviewed data on a tablet. His antennae twitched with satisfaction. The Coalition Council has approved the Human Integration Accord, he announced. All terms you requested have been accepted. Chen turned to look at him. All of them. Even military autonomy. Especially that, Krelvac said. After what we witnessed, the Council understands that human military doctrine is unique and effective. You'll maintain your own command structure while coordinating with coalition forces. Think of it as a partnership rather than absorption. And the Sol system? Already being cleared. Coalition engineering ships are helping stabilize Earth's orbit. We can't bring back your moon, but we can make the planet habitable again. It will take decades, but Earth will live once more. Chen felt emotion well up inside her. Earth. Home. A place her grandparents had fled from, that she'd only seen in pictures and recordings. Her children might actually walk on Earth's soil someday. There's more, Krelvac continued. The Council is establishing the Outer Territories Defense Initiative. Humanity will be the primary force protecting coalition borders. You'll have access to resources, shipyards, and recruitment from any species that wishes to join. You're not just rejoining the coalition, you're becoming its shield. Is that what we are now? Chen asked quietly. Professional warriors? The ambassador's wings folded in a gesture of respect. You're survivors who learned to fight. There's a difference. Warriors fight for glory or conquest. You fight to protect. The coalition needs that. The Korth proved there are threats beyond our borders we never knew about. A chime interrupted them. Captain Genthar entered the observation deck, his scales showing a healthy blue-green color. He'd been promoted to admiral after the battle and now commanded the coalition's joint human-alien defense force. Commander Chen, Ambassador, he greeted them. I have news. The Korth Dominion has sent an envoy. Chen's expression hardened. They want to negotiate? They want to surrender, Genthar corrected. Well, not exactly surrender. More like a non-aggression pact. They're offering to withdraw from coalition space and establish a neutral zone between our territories. What changed their minds? Krelvac asked. Genthar showed them a communication. This is from the Korth High Command. I'll summarize the important part. They're terrified of humans. When their surviving ships returned with reports of the battle, the Dominion leaders remembered something. Ancient Korth records mentioned encountering humans before thousands of years ago. A primitive species on a backwater world. The Korth tested a weapon on what they thought was an uninhabited moon. They never imagined there was a civilization on the nearby planet. He continued, but here's what frightened them. Their old records predicted that if humans ever developed spaceflight and learned who had destroyed their moon, they would become a threat unlike any the Dominion had faced. A species that would hunt them across the stars. The Korth dismissed it as superstition, until 3 months ago when you proved them right. Chen absorbed this information. So the Korth's own history warned them about us, and they still tried to fight. Pride, Genthar said simply. They thought the warning was about primitive humans with crude weapons. They didn't expect you to become this. He gestured toward the defiant remembrance. A fleet of generational warships carrying a civilization that spent 150 years preparing for revenge. What do the Council recommend? Chen asked. They're leaving it up to you, the Admiral replied. This is between humans and Korth. Whatever you decide, the Coalition will support. Chen thought about all the lives lost. 43 ships in the last battle alone, thousands of humans who would never see Earth restored, children who grew up in corridors instead of under open skies, all because the Korth had been careless with their weapons test. But she also thought about what continuing the war would cost. More lives, more ships, more orphans raised in warships taught that fighting was all they knew. Accept their terms, she decided. Establish the neutral zone. But make it clear that if the Korth ever cross that line, if they threaten anyone under Coalition protection, we'll finish what we started. Krelvax nodded approvingly. A wise decision. Mercy is strength when you've already proven your power. It's not mercy, Chen said firmly. It's practicality. We've spent 150 years focused on revenge. Now it's time to focus on living again. Our children deserve better than endless war. She looked out at the stars. But we'll never forget. And we'll never be unprepared again. The galaxy thinks humanity is dangerous now. They haven't seen anything yet. Wait until we rebuild. Wait until Earth has cities again. Wait until we're not just surviving but thriving. Genthar's scales shifted to a respectful purple. The Coalition is grateful for your partnership, Commander. And perhaps a bit nervous about your potential. Chen smiled. Good. Fear keeps people honest. Just remember that we're on your side now. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy can handle having humans as allies. 6 months later, the first human ship entered Earth's atmosphere in 150 years. It wasn't a warship. It was a colony transport called New Beginning. On board were engineers, scientists, farmers, and families. People ready to rebuild. The planet was damaged but alive. Earthquakes had reshaped coastlines. Weather patterns had changed. But life had survived. Plants grew wild. Oceans still flowed. The sky was still blue. Chen stood on the landing site, breathing Earth's air for the first time in her life. Around her, people cried and laughed and fell to their knees to touch the soil. The soil of home. Her communication device chimed. It was a transmission from the Exodus fleet. The remaining 130 human warships had taken up positions around the Sol system. They would be the guardians of humanity's rebirth, but they weren't alone. Coalition vessels patrolled alongside them. The Steady Light, Genthar's original ship, held position at the edge of the system. Other species had sent ships too, a show of solidarity, a promise of protection. Krelvax had traveled to Earth as well. He approached Chen, his wings spread wide to feel the breeze. It's beautiful, he said softly. I understand now why you fought so hard. This is what the Korth tried to take from us, Chen replied. This sky, this ground, this feeling of belonging somewhere. They failed. We survived, and now we're home. She watched as construction drones began surveying the area for the first settlement. Human children ran across the grass laughing. They had been born in space, but they would help build Earth's future. The galaxy wanted to know what happens when humans are armed, Chen said. Now they have their answer. We become protectors. We become guardians. We become the ones who make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Above them, the human warships maintained their watch, silent sentinels carrying the memory of 6 billion lost lives and the hope of billions yet to be born. The unknown signal that had started this journey was no longer a mystery. It was a promise. Humanity had returned. Armed, determined, and ready to stand with the galaxy against any threat. The Coalition had gained more than allies in the war. They had gained family, and families protected each other. In the distance, construction began on a monument. It would show Earth with its moon, whole and complete. Beneath it, an inscription would read, Remember what was lost. Protect what remains. Never forget who we are. The human spirit, forged in tragedy and hardened by survival, would ensure that message echoed through the stars for generations to come. They were armed not just with weapons but with purpose, and that made them the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. The story of humanity's extinction had been wrong. It was never an ending. It was just the beginning of something far greater.
The stars looked different from the observation deck of the UES horizon. Commander Jack Freeman stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the massive Viridian station grew larger in the viewport. After 2 years of distant communications, humanity was about to meet the Viridians face to face. Nervous, Commander? Olivia Martinez stepped up beside him. As the ship's communication specialist, she had spent more time studying the aliens than anyone else on board. Just cautious, Jack said. First contact hasn't exactly gone well in our movies. Olivia smiled. Good thing this isn't a movie. The UES horizon slowed as it approached the docking bay. The Viridian station shimmered like a giant emerald against the black of space. Its spiraling architecture reminded Jack of seashells from Earth's oceans. Final approach, announced the pilot over the ship's comm system. All personnel report to designated first contact positions. Jack straightened his uniform. Let's make history, Martinez. The diplomatic team gathered in the airlock. Besides Jack and Olivia, there was Dr. Alan Kelly, their anthropologist, and 5 other specialists. Everyone wore their best uniforms with the United Earth emblem on their shoulders. Remember, Jack said to his team, we represent all of humanity today. The airlock hissed open, revealing 3 tall, slender aliens. Their skin was pale blue with faint patterns that shifted like clouds. They had 4 arms and large almond-shaped eyes that seemed to change color as they moved. The tallest Viridian stepped forward. I am Ambassador Mira. We welcome you to the Viridian Collective. The words came through the translation devices Olivia had programmed. Jack bowed slightly. Commander Jack Freeman of Earth, we are honored to meet you. The Viridians led them through corridors that seemed to be made of living crystal. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans, their expressions unreadable to Jack. They entered a large chamber where more Viridians waited. One with elaborate markings on its face approached. High Counselor Zivik, Ambassador Mira announced, leader of our collective. The High Counselor examined the humans with eyes that shifted from green to purple. So these are the beings who filled our communication channels with their noise. Jack frowned at the translation. Noise. Your messages contain much unnecessary information. Music, stories, emotional displays. The High Counselor's tone made it clear these were not compliments. Olivia stepped forward. We share our culture as a way of introducing ourselves. An inefficient method, said another Viridian. Communication should transfer data, not feelings. Dr. Kelly whispered to Jack. They seemed dismissive of our cultural expressions. The meeting continued for hours. The Viridians asked detailed questions about Earth's technology, but showed little interest in human art, music, or history. When Olivia tried to explain the importance of songs in human culture, the aliens exchanged looks that needed no translation. Primitive emotional attachments, one Viridian said. Your species will outgrow such simplistic artistic expressions as you evolve. Later, in their assigned quarters, the human team gathered to discuss the day. They're technically advanced, but something feels off, Jack said, like they're missing something important. Olivia nodded. Did you notice how they reacted when I played that music sample? Not just disinterest, almost discomfort. Their society seems to value pure logic and efficiency, Dr. Kelly added. They claim to have evolved beyond art and music. Nobody evolves beyond music, Olivia said firmly. It's too fundamental. Jack walked to the window, watching Viridians move through their station with precise, measured steps. No one was laughing. No one was singing. No one seemed to be enjoying anything. Maybe that's our advantage, he said quietly. They don't understand us because they've forgotten something about themselves. What do you mean? Asked Dr. Kelly. Jack turned back to his team. I think our mission just got more complicated. We need to learn why a species so advanced seems to have left something essential behind. And maybe, just maybe, we need to help them remember. Olivia's eyes lit up. I'll keep analyzing their language patterns. There might be clues there, remnants of whatever they've lost. Good, Jack said. Because I have a feeling that finding what they're missing might be the key to real understanding between our worlds. Outside their window, the stars continue to shine, silent witnesses to the meeting of two civilizations, one that remembered how to sing and one that had somehow forgotten. 6 months passed. The diplomatic mission had settled into a routine of meetings and careful exchanges. Jack Freeman's team occupied a section of the Viridian Station, studying the aliens as much as the aliens studied them. "Access granted," said the Viridian guide, opening a doorway that glowed with soft blue light. "The Archives of Rationalization. You have 2 of your Earth hours." Jack nodded respectfully. "Thank you for this opportunity." It had taken months of negotiations to gain even limited access to the Viridian historical records. Jack and Olivia entered the vast chamber while their guide waited outside. "This place is enormous," Olivia whispered. The walls rose hundreds of feet, lined with crystal containers that hummed with stored information. Jack approached one of the interface panels. "Let's not waste time. Start with cultural development records." They worked quickly, scanning through thousands of years of Viridian history. Olivia's translation software struggled with the oldest records, but patterns emerged. "Jack, look at this," Olivia called. References to something called sonic rituals that appear throughout their early civilization. Jack joined her. "What kind of rituals?" "It's vague, but there are descriptions of large gatherings where Viridians would produce organized sounds together." Olivia's eyes widened. "They had music, Jack. Complex music." "So what happened to it?" Olivia navigated through more records. "Here, about 3,000 years ago, something called the Great Rationalization, a complete restructuring of their society." Jack read the translated text. "They deliberately eliminated music from their culture, called it wasteful and potentially dangerous. When they returned to their quarters, they called Dr. Kelly to share their discovery." "Fascinating," the anthropologist said, studying their notes. "These patterns you found, they're remarkably similar to human musical scales. But why would an advanced civilization abandon music?" Jack asked. Dr. Kelly stroked his beard. "Many human societies have tried to suppress art and music at various times, usually during periods of strict control. We need someone who understands music better than we do," Olivia said. Jack nodded. "I know just the person." 2 weeks later, Lisa Johnson arrived on the station. The musical historian seemed out of place in her civilian clothes among the uniformed crew. "Commander Freeman, thank you for bringing me here," she said, shaking Jack's hand. "Your messages about the Viridian sonic patterns were too intriguing to resist." Jack introduced her to the team. "Lisa is one of Earth's leading experts on mathematical music theory." That evening, they showed Lisa everything they had discovered in the archives. "This is extraordinary," she said, examining the patterns. "These aren't just random sounds. This was a sophisticated musical tradition." "Can you reconstruct any of it?" Olivia asked. Lisa nodded slowly. "Maybe, with time." The next day, Jack noticed that several Viridians were watching their team more closely. During a scheduled meeting, High Counselor Zivik questioned him directly. "We understand your team has been researching pre-rationalization archives," the Viridian leader said. "May I ask why?" Jack kept his expression neutral. "We're trying to better understand your culture's development. Some historical periods are better left unstudied," Zivik said. "They do not reflect our current values." Later, Ambassador Mira approached Jack privately. "Commander," she said, her voice quieter than usual, "I must warn you. The Council is uncomfortable with your interest in our ancient practices." "Why?" Jack asked. "What harm is there in learning about your history?" Mira's color patterns shifted in what Jack had learned to recognize as anxiety. The rationalization was necessary. Before it, our people were chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. "Like humans," Jack suggested. Mira's eyes changed to a deep purple. "Yes, and that concerns many of our leaders." That night, Lisa played a simple sequence of notes on a small keyboard she had brought from Earth. This pattern appears repeatedly in their ancient architecture, she explained. It's a fundamental scale. As the sound filled their room, Jack noticed something strange. In the corridor outside, a young Viridian had stopped walking. It stood motionless, its head tilted as if listening. Then, almost imperceptibly, it began to sway. Lisa Johnson spent long hours studying the Viridian archives. She mapped patterns found in ancient buildings and compared them to musical notes. One morning, she burst into Jack's office with excitement on her face. "Commander, I found something amazing," she said, spreading diagrams across his desk. "Look at these patterns in their oldest buildings. The distances between columns match perfect musical intervals." Jack studied the drawings. "You mean their architecture is musical?" "Exactly. Their buildings were designed to create specific sounds when wind passed through them. Their entire cities were giant instruments." Olivia joined them, carrying her datapad. "That's not all. I've been analyzing their communication signals. There are hidden patterns there too. Rhythmic sequences embedded in their transmissions." "Could they be accidental?" Jack asked. Olivia shook her head. "Too consistent. I think they're remnants of their musical past. Like muscle memory, their civilization can't quite forget." Lisa pointed to a specific pattern. "This sequence appears everywhere. I believe it's part of something called the Song of Seven Moons. Based on historical references, it was a war song from their imperial period." "A war song?" Jack leaned forward. "Can you reconstruct it?" "I'm trying," Lisa said. "But we need instruments that can produce Viridian tonal ranges." Jack thought for a moment. "Let me talk to Peter." Peter Garcia, the ship's engineer, was a problem solver. When Jack explained what they needed, Peter's eyes lit up with the challenge. "Viridian hearing ranges higher than ours," Peter said, examining Lisa's notes. "But I can build something that produces those frequencies. Give me 3 days." While they waited, tensions on the station grew. A group of Viridian officials requested a meeting with Jack. "Commander Freeman," said a senior official, "we must insist that your team cease its disruptive cultural investigations." Jack kept his voice calm. "May I ask why our research is considered disruptive?" "Your people have been making unauthorized sounds in your quarters. Several young Viridians have been observed lingering near your section. It is creating disorder." After the officials left, Ambassador Mira visited privately. "Commander," she said quietly, "not all Viridians share the Council's view. Some of us are curious about what you've discovered." "The music?" Jack asked. Mira's skin patterns shifted uncomfortably. "We are not supposed to discuss such things. The rationalization teaches that organized sound leads to emotional instability." "But you don't believe that?" Mira hesitated. "I have questions. Many of us younger Viridians do." 3 days later, Peter delivered his creation to Lisa. It looked like a cross between a keyboard and a strange harp. "It can produce the full Viridian tonal range," he explained. "The controls are similar to Earth instruments." Lisa ran her fingers over the controls, and the device produced sounds unlike anything they had heard before, haunting tones that seemed to vibrate through their bodies. "It's beautiful," Olivia whispered. That night, they gathered in their common room. Lisa had spent hours practicing on Peter's instrument, trying to recreate the patterns they had discovered. "I think I've got part of it," she said. "One section of the Song of Seven Moons." She began to play. The strange, alien melody filled the room. It started slow and built gradually, creating a tension that seemed to reach inside them. Unknown to the humans, the sound carried through the station's ventilation system. In their quarters, several Viridians froze at the sound. Some older ones trembled, memories stirring that they couldn't quite place. Younger ones moved closer to the walls, trying to hear better. In his private chamber, High Counselor Zivik received an urgent message. He read it, and his skin turned a dark, angry blue. "The humans have gone too far," he said to his aides. "Prepare the notification. They must leave immediately. But in the shadows of the station, groups of Viridians were already gathering, drawn by sounds they had never heard before, but somehow recognized within themselves. Jack stared at the message on his screen. The words were polite but firm. The human delegation had 7 Earth days to conclude their mission and lead Viridian space. They can't just kick us out, Olivia said, reading over his shoulder. We've made so much progress. They can, and they are, Jack replied. Something has them scared. The team gathered to discuss their options. Dr. Kelly stroked his beard thoughtfully. This reaction tells us something important, he said. The Viridian leaders aren't just dismissive of music. They fear it. But why? Peter asked. It's just sound. Lisa shook her head. It's never just sound. Music can unite people, inspire them, move them to action. Maybe that's what they're afraid of, Jack said quietly. Later that day, Jack received a strange message on his private channel. It contained only coordinates and a time. No sender. It could be a trap, Olivia warned when he showed her. Or it could be help, Jack replied. I'm going, but I'll go alone. The coordinates led to a rarely used maintenance area. Jack moved carefully through the dimly lit corridors. A figure waited in the shadows, tall and slender like all Viridians, but with unusual markings on its skin. Commander Freeman, the Viridian said softly. I am Krelfar. I study forbidden history. Jack remained cautious. Why contact me? Because your people have rediscovered what mine tried to erase. Krelfar's voice had an intensity Jack hadn't heard in other Viridians. The songs of our ancestors. You know about the music. I have spent my life searching for remnants of our lost culture. The Council has tried to destroy all traces, but they missed some. Krelfar produced a small crystal. This contains recordings of ancient ceremonies. It may help your historian complete the war song. Jack took the crystal. Why are they so afraid of music? Because before the rationalization, music united our people. It let us express disagreement. It made us question our leaders. Krelfar's colors shifted to a deep red. What better way to control a society than to remove the tools of rebellion? There are others who think like you. More than the Council knows. Many who are too young to remember, but feel the emptiness. Krelfar moved closer. Your singing has awakened something long dormant in my people. Back at their quarters, Lisa examined the crystal using Peter's equipment. This is incredible, she said. Complete musical patterns, ceremonial rhythms. Krelfar has given us exactly what we needed. We only have 6 days left, Jack reminded them. I can finish reconstructing the war song with this, Lisa said confidently. The next day, Jack received an urgent call from Earth Command. Admiral Patel's face appeared on the screen, looking concerned. Commander, what the hell is happening up there? The Viridian Council has filed a formal complaint. Jack explained their discoveries, and the Viridians' reaction. The Admiral frowned. You're telling me they've banned music and you've been playing alien songs anyway. No wonder they want you gone. Sir, there's more happening here than diplomatic niceties. Their society is divided. The leadership is hiding something from their own people. That's not our problem. Commander, your mission was to establish positive relations, not spark a cultural uprising. With respect, sir, I believe understanding their true history is key to real communication. The Admiral's expression hardened. Your orders are to wrap up operations and return home. That's final. After the call ended, Jack sat silently for a long moment. Then he gathered his team. Earth Command wants us to leave without making waves, he told them. And? Olivia asked, knowing him well enough to hear the unspoken but. Jack looked at each of them. And I'm asking if you're willing to risk your careers for one last attempt to reach the Viridian people. One by one, they nodded. Good, Jack said. Because I think it's time we held a concert. Planning the concert took every moment of their remaining time. Jack met with Krelfar in secret places around the station. always careful to avoid the watchful eyes of the Council's security forces. This section has been abandoned since the last station expansion, Krelfar explained, showing Jack a large circular chamber on a hidden map. The Council forgot it exists. Is it big enough? Jack asked. It can hold several hundred, and the walls are designed with the old acoustic patterns. The sound will be... Krelfar paused, searching for words. Perfect. Meanwhile, Peter worked on the station's communication systems. He needed a way to broadcast the concert beyond the meeting place. The station uses sound-based data transmission through these conduits, he explained to Olivia. If I modify this junction, we can send the music throughout the public areas. Won't they detect it and shut it down? She asked. Peter grinned. Not if I wrote it through 17 different backup systems. Lisa spent day and night with the crystal Krelfar had provided, finishing her reconstruction of the Song of Seven Moons. She worked with a small group of humans who had musical training, teaching them the alien rhythms and tones. It's challenging, she told Jack during a brief break. The Viridian musical scale has 15 notes instead of our 12. But we're getting it. The night before their deadline to leave, everything was ready. Jack gathered the team for final instructions. This is risky, he reminded them. If anything goes wrong, I take full responsibility. Dr. Kelly raised an eyebrow. We're all adults, Jack. We made our choice. Krelfar says about 50 Viridians will attend, Jack continued. Mostly younger ones, but a few elders who remember the time before the rationalization. Will that be enough? Olivia asked. It has to be, Jack replied. With Peter's broadcast, the rest of the station will hear us too. That night, they moved carefully through the station's service tunnels, carrying their instruments and equipment. The abandoned chamber was larger than Jack had expected, with a high domed ceiling and walls covered in geometric patterns. Viridians began arriving in small groups, moving silently through hidden entrances. They stood awkwardly at first, unsure of what to do. Many had never attended any kind of gathering not organized by the Council. Krelfar stepped into the center of the room. Friends, we are here to reclaim something that was taken from us. These humans have helped us remember what we lost. Jack nodded to Lisa. She stepped forward with her human musicians and began to play a simple earth melody. The Viridians watched in silence, their skin patterns shifting with curiosity. Then Lisa transitioned into the first Viridian piece they had reconstructed, a gentle, flowing song that filled the chamber with strange, beautiful tones. An elderly Viridian near Jack began to tremble. The lullaby of the twin stars, the alien whispered. My grandmother sang this to me before it was forbidden. The music continued, growing more complex. Some younger Viridians began to sway, their bodies remembering movements their minds had never known. Finally, Lisa nodded to her musicians. The Song of Seven Moons, she announced. The war song began low and powerful, building in waves that seemed to make the very air vibrate. Jack felt it in his chest, a calling to something primal and strong. Around the chamber, Viridians froze in place. Their skin colors shifted rapidly, flashing patterns racing across their bodies. Several of the elders began to hum, then to sing in high, clear voices. Suddenly, a loud alarm sounded throughout the station. A voice boomed over the main communication system. Attention! Unauthorized gathering detected. Security forces are responding. Remain where you are. Krelfar's colors darkened with fear. The Council knows. Keep playing, Jack ordered Lisa. Then he turned to Peter. Start the broadcast. Now. Peter's fingers flew across his control pad. Broadcasting now, he said. The whole station will hear this. The powerful notes of the Song of Seven Moons echoed through the hidden speakers Peter had placed throughout the public areas of the station. In the grand meeting hall, Viridian officials stopped mid-sentence. In the living quarters, thousands of Viridians paused in their daily routines. Back in the secret chamber, Lisa guided the musicians through the complex rhythms of the ancient war song. The elder Viridians sang louder now, their voices growing stronger as forgotten memories returned. Security forces approaching the east entrance, Olivia warned, checking her scanner. Jack moved to the door with several younger Viridians. They would not fight, but they could delay. Keep playing, he called to Lisa. The song has to finish. Throughout the station, something remarkable happened. Viridians of all ages began moving toward the music. They walked slowly at first, then faster, streaming through corridors and gathering in open spaces where the sound was strongest. High Counselor Zivik stood in his command center, watching with horror as his screen showed the growing crowds. Shut down the broadcast, he ordered. Find the source. We're trying, a technician responded. But the signal keeps rerouting itself. Engineer Garcia's modifications are extremely effective. In the secret chamber, the security forces arrived. They pushed against the doors, but the crowd of gathered Viridians stood firm, their bodies forming a living barrier. This is your final warning, the security chief announced. Disperse immediately. No one moved. The music continued to build toward its climax. Jack noticed something strange happening to the Viridians around him. Their skin patterns were synchronizing, pulsing in time with the music. Even the younger ones who had never heard these songs before were beginning to sing, the melodies somehow remembered in their bodies. Lisa reached the final movement of the song. The humans played with everything they had, and the Viridian voices rose in a powerful chorus that seemed to make the walls themselves vibrate. Throughout the station, thousands of Viridians sang together for the first time in 3,000 years. The security forces stopped pushing against the doors. Several of them began to sway, their own skin patterns joining the synchronized waves of light moving through the crowd. When the song ended, there was a moment of perfect silence. Then a new sound filled the air. Viridians talking excitedly to each other, asking questions, sharing feelings they had never expressed before. Ambassador Mira rushed into the command center where Zivek stood frozen in shock. "Counselor, you must come see this," she urged. "The people are changing." In the main plaza, Viridians had begun to create their own music. Some tapped on surfaces, creating rhythms. Others sang snippets of songs they had just heard. Young and old alike moved in ways that had been forbidden for generations. Jack and his team emerged from the secret chamber, surrounded by their Viridian allies. News of what had happened spread quickly through the station. "The council will try to stop this," Krelfar warned. "They will call it temporary madness." "It's too late," Olivia said, watching the growing celebration. "You can't unfeel something once you've felt it." The next morning, Jack received 2 urgent messages. The first was from Earth Command, ordering their immediate return for a military tribunal. Admiral Patel's words were harsh. "You have violated direct orders and potentially damaged interstellar relations." The second message was from a group of Viridian citizens requesting human assistance in organizing an interspecies cultural festival. Jack showed both messages to his team. "What now?" Peter asked. "Now we face the consequences," Jack replied. "But I don't regret what we've done." Olivia looked out at the transformed station. "Even if they send us home in disgrace, we've started something they can't stop." In his private chambers, High Counselor Zivik stared at ancient records he had never shown anyone. Records of a time before the rationalization. Records of why music had been banned. Records of what the songs had once awakened. The UES Horizon carried Jack and his team back to Earth. After 2 weeks in space, they arrived at Earth Command Headquarters in Geneva. Armed guards escorted them from the landing pad to a large meeting room, where Admiral Patel waited with a panel of stern-faced officers. "Commander Freeman," the Admiral said coldly, "you and your team stand accused of disobeying direct orders and interfering with the internal affairs of the Viridian Collective." Jack stood straight. "We did what we believed was right, sir." "Your belief is irrelevant, Commander. Your actions." The Admiral was interrupted by an urgent message. A young officer rushed in and whispered something in his ear. The Admiral's expression changed from anger to alarm. "This tribunal is temporarily suspended," he announced. "Commander Freeman, you and your team are needed in the Situation Room immediately." They followed the Admiral through secure corridors to a room filled with screens and nervous officers. One large screen showed a massive object moving through space. "What is that?" Jack asked. "We don't know," Admiral Patel replied. "It appeared at the edge of Viridian's space 3 hours ago. The Viridians sent us this data along with an urgent request for you." Jack studied the image. The object was unlike any ship he had seen before, dark, crystalline, and enormous. Dr. Kelly stepped closer to the screen. "Those patterns, they look almost organic." A communication officer called out, "Incoming transmission from the Viridian Collective. Priority 1. The main screen changed to show High Counselor Zivik. His skin was a pale, frightened blue. "Commander Freeman," he said, his voice uncharacteristically emotional. "The Voidborn have returned." "The Voidborn?" Jack asked. "Ancient enemies of our people. Enemies we thought defeated millennia ago." Zivik's colors shifted anxiously. "There is much I must explain, and little time." The High Counselor revealed the truth. Long ago, the Viridians fought a terrible war against the Voidborn, a species that fed on energy and sought to consume the Viridian sun. The Viridians had defeated them using their war songs, complex sonic patterns that disrupted Voidborn communication and navigation. After the victory, Zivik explained, "Our ancestors feared the Voidborn would return if they detected our sonic signatures again. The Great Rationalization was implemented to hide our civilization by eliminating the very thing that defined us." "You gave up music to become invisible to them," Olivia said, understanding dawning. "Yes. For 3,000 years, we hid in silence." Zivik's colors darkened. "Until your concert." The room fell silent as everyone understood the implications. "You're saying we brought them back," Jack said quietly. "The songs you helped us remember sent ripples through space. The Voidborn heard. They remembered too." Zivik's voice became urgent. "But you also gave us back the weapons to fight them." Admiral Patel frowned. "What exactly are you asking for, Counselor?" "Your war songs awakened our memories," Zivik said. "Now we need your help to sing them again, with purpose." The Viridians explained their plan. Their scientists had already launched conventional attacks against the Voidborn ships, but their advanced weapons barely damaged the alien vessels. Their only hope was to use the ancient sonic weapons, the war songs that had once driven the Voidborn away. "Our younger generations never learned the songs," Zivik said. "We need your musician, Lisa Johnson. We need your engineer, Peter Garcia. We need your translator, Olivia Martinez." After the transmission ended, Admiral Patel turned to Jack. "This changes everything," he said. "Your tribunal is suspended pending the outcome of this situation." Jack looked at his team. "It seems our concert had bigger consequences than we imagined." Dr. Kelly nodded gravely. "We awakened something ancient and dangerous. And now we have to help them fight it," Lisa added. "The question is," Jack said, looking back at the image of the massive Voidborn ship, "can a song really stop that?" 3 days later, the UES Horizon raced back toward Viridian space. Earth had sent 5 additional ships, loaded with equipment and volunteers with musical training. In the Horizon's main cargo bay, now converted to a rehearsal space, Lisa worked tirelessly with hundreds of human and Viridian singers. "The frequency needs to be exact," she explained, pointing to the musical notation displayed on a large screen. "Each note creates a specific disruption in the Voidborn communication patterns." Jack watched from the doorway as humans and Viridians sang together, their voices blending in haunting harmony. The Viridian skin pulsed with light as they sang, creating visual patterns that matched the sound. Olivia approached him, datapad in hand. "Peter's amplification system is ready," she said. "He's installed the satellites around the Viridian homeworld. Once deployed, they'll project the sound waves directly at the Voidborn fleet." "Will it be enough?" Jack asked. "It has to be," she replied simply. The void-born ships had surrounded the Viridian sun, strange appendages extending toward its surface. According to Krelthar, they were beginning to extract solar energy on a massive scale. They will drain our sun until it dies, Krelthar had explained. That is how they destroyed other systems before ours, in the ancient times. The combined human Viridian fleet took position between the planet and the Voidborn. Initial attacks with conventional weapons had minimal effect. Energy beams seemed to pass right through the crystalline structures of the Voidborn ships. Admiral Patel's voice came through the comm system. All ships in position. Ready the sonic array. Peter nodded to Jack. Satellites online. Amplification at maximum. Jack looked at the faces around him. Human and alien united by music and common purpose. Begin transmission. Lisa raised her hands and the great choir began to sing. The Song of Seven Moons filled the ship, its complex harmonies carried by human voices and Viridian throats. Peter's satellites broadcast the sound into space, directing it toward the Voidborn ships. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The massive alien vessels continued their slow approach toward the sun. Increase amplitude, Jack ordered. All voices, maximum effort. The song grew louder, the harmonies richer and more complex. The Viridian skin glowed with patterns that hadn't been seen for 3,000 years. On the main screen, they watched as the nearest Voidborn ship began to shimmer. Its crystalline structure vibrated visibly. "It's working," Olivia whispered. The disruption spread to other ships. Where the song's frequencies hit the alien vessels, their structures began to fracture. Small at first, then larger cracks appeared across their surfaces. "Target the lead ship," High Counselor Zivik ordered from his vessel. "All conventional weapons, fire when ready." The combined fleet launched everything they had at the damaged Voidborn flagship. This time, their weapons found purchase in the cracked exterior. Explosions rippled across its surface. The choir sang harder, their voices rising and falling in the ancient patterns. More Voidborn ships began to falter, their movements becoming erratic. "They're retreating," someone shouted as the alien vessels began to pull away from the sun. The choir continued, driving the Voidborn back with each powerful verse. Finally, the remaining ships accelerated away from the Viridian system, disappearing into deep space. When it was over, humans and Viridians embraced, their differences forgotten in the joy of victory. Months later, Earth and the Viridian Collective signed the Harmonic Alliance Treaty. Cultural exchange programs were established, with music at their center. The first Intergalactic Music Academy opened on the Viridian Station, with Lisa Johnson as its director. Jack and Olivia stood at the observation deck, watching students arrive from both worlds. "Remember when they mocked our singing?" Olivia asked with a smile. Jack nodded. "And now they can't stop singing themselves." "Do you think the Voidborn will return?" she asked more seriously. "Probably," Jack replied. "But next time, we'll be ready to sing together from the start." Below them, a mixed choir of humans and Viridians practiced a new composition, a song of peace that contained echoes of ancient war melodies, a bridge between worlds that had once seemed impossibly different.